before we get into this week's show, That 80s Show is a member of the South African Podcasters Guild, and we have made a pledge to protect our listeners from content that may be inflammatory or that they may not like. So in this week's show, as much as Dori and I do love a swear, there is very liberal use of the C word in the first couple of minutes of the show. It is very funny in our opinion. It is totally within context, and we couldn't have done it any other way. But a lot of people, while they love swears, they do not like that word. So if you are offended by that word, if it does rub you up the wrong way, maybe skip past the first 5 or so minutes of the show. But if you do stay, it is really, really funny, and probably the funniest thing Dori has ever said on the show, even funnier than the Lil MacGyver thing. So thank you for this. We want to look after you and make sure you enjoy the show. And let's roll the music. Welcome to That 80s Show, and the words, thank you for being my friend, were actually harder fought out than we ever would have thought, Dori.
Who knew? Well, actually, I think I do remember hearing about this before. I do. This is not news somehow.
All was not golden with the Golden Girls.
No.
Why do you think Golden Girls news is coming out now? What is going on?
I don't know. Are they all gone?
There's been a few Golden Girls stories lately. And I'm wondering if it's like an anniversary of something. So what we are talking about is scandalous headline. 80s sitcom stars couldn't warm up to each other off camera. And they hid their feud from fans for 7 seasons.
No, I've definitely heard about this feud before. I don't think they hid it that well. There was something in the news before about this.
Your favorite retired grannies. All was not, as I said, golden as it appeared. The Golden Girls, Bea Arthur and Betty White, were not friends.
But you can see the personality clash there. You can just see it.
Because
they didn't like each other that much on the show.
They actually didn't. And
they used to fight all the time.
It was uncomfortable at times.
Yeah, because remember, like, Dorothy would say like really mean things when Rose would say dumb things.
Yeah, and it was like scathing.
And she would give her that look.
Bea Arthur frightened the shit out of me.
Very scary.
Very afraid of Bea Arthur. Yeah. Very afraid of her.
Yeah.
And
her and her Kaftans.
Oh my word! I mean, did she kill the Kaftan? You know what I mean?
I think she brought it back and then killed it.
Yeah, she for her own purposes. So I will resurrect it, but for my own purposes. So during the Golden Girls 40th anniversary, that's what it's about. It's a 40th anniversary event because it started in 1985. And they've been talking about the show. So one of the co-producers, Marsha Posner-Williams, said when the red light was on and the show was filming, there was no more professional people than those women. But when the red light was off, those two couldn't warm up to each other, even if they were cremated together.
I can just see them like marching off in opposite directions from each other.
I think more so Bea Arthur. So the producer claimed that Arthur repeatedly referred to Betty White by using the C word.
Imagine.
Now, what C word could that be? Caring?
That is definitely
Clever?
a word that Betty White used to use.
She did use it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know that C word, if you're a much better person than me, the C word rhymes with punt, bunt, cunt, and I remember my husband and I went over to Bea's house a couple of times for dinner. Within 30 seconds of walking in the door, the C word came out, William said. Now, I hope that was in reference to Betty White and not just, welcome to my cunt. There are Kaftans in the corner.
Welcome to dinner. My cunt is itchy.
Oh, so many E's on today's podcast.
All the E's.
All the E's. Wow,
I do love that word, though.
There is no better word than that. And in South Africa, there is the P word.
Yes.
Would I ever say the P word? I don't know. But one of the things Arthur reportedly hated was White's habit of joking with the live audience between scenes. Betty would break character in the middle of the show and talk to the live audience, and Bea hated that. I would hate that.
Yeah.
That would irritate the shit out of me because it's like, if a scene breaks, if you break down, if there's a fluff, Like, I mean, but I suppose that's why people loved Betty White. Well, when she passed away at 100 or close.
I think she was 99. She was almost
a couple
100.
of days. A couple of days off.
Literally almost there.
That would irritate me. In 2016, Bea Arthur's son said his mom didn't dig White's antics with the audience. It's just not the right time to talk to fans between takes. It rubbed my mom the wrong way. My mom was the real deal. I think she felt she was more of an actress than Betty. Mom came from Broadway. Betty starred on a game show at one point. Ooh! Ooh!
Well, there goes that credibility.
Bea Arthur's son is also very catty.
Yes, well, like mother, like son, obviously.
And then the final few words, TV writer Stan Zimmerman in his book wrote From Golden to Gilmore. That's an interesting book, The Girls from Golden to Gilmore. The same guy worked on both. Noted he never felt tension between Arthur and White on set. I only heard stories and recently learned from producer Marsha Posner that Bea thought Betty was two-faced.
I think she was jealous because Rose was everyone's favorite. Well, actually, Sophia was everyone's favorite.
Yeah,
let's be
loved
honest.
Sophia.
But out of the three younger ones, younger in inverted commas, because we know, Betty was the favorite. So I think she was jealous.
To the end of days.
And Bea was probably the least favorite, let's be honest.
Because she was so scary.
Yeah.
And a cunt. So, let's go to a place that word is used quite a lot on game day. A podcast you and I have been listening to since it came out in April. It's taken us only 2 months to listen to it between the two of us.
So I listened to it a few weeks ago. I hope I can even remember.
Well, I mean, we're talking about, and listen, this is produced by friends of ours, the fantastic team.
Full disclaimer,
but not endorsed. They're just great friends of ours.
Yeah.
The team at Solid Gold Podcast, Gavin Kennedy and Clan. The Kennedy clan, and a friend of the show, Benji Moody. We've had him, interviewed him. We'll put the link to that episode in the show notes. But they did something fantastic. Of course, if you are in South Africa, and even if you're not, I know I've got a lot of international listeners. I want you to listen and enjoy this. So in 1985, January 12th, it's the 40th anniversary this year of the concert in the park being Ellis Park. It was kind of in the height of the troubles, the tensions in South Africa. I think there were more than troubles and tensions.
Yeah.
I think we were bordering on full-out civil war. And it was decided to put on this concert. And we hear about the making of it in this fantastically, beautifully produced documentary. Thank God there aren't any podcast awards this year, because you and I often go up against Gavin Kennedy and Benjamin. In the music category, would be done.
And no, this would win. No. It would have to win hands down.
I mean, unless there was a show for most creative and,
most use of the word cunt.
Yes. Then no one's touching us. But in terms of high quality podcast, and it actually wasn't, despite the fact that it was there were a lot of political elements to it. The concert was actually put on for hunger and famine relief.
Yes, it was Operation Hunger Time.
Exactly. So Hilton Rosenthal was the guy who put it together. We hear from him in the podcast.
Yeah.
He starts off telling the story, and he's talking about he was in a helicopter with the late Izzy Kirsch. He was our Uber boss at some point.
Yes.
Like, we never saw him.
Once in a blue moon.
You knew when Izzy was in the building. Of course, we used to work for 702. You knew when Izzy was in the building, but Izzy wasn't everybody.
No.
Like, everybody...
He was just so sweet.
He was the sweetest man. He was really sweet. Started 702, real media visionary in South Africa. And they flew over Ellis Park, and Hilton looks over. This is how the story goes. He goes, imagine having a concert there. And Izzy Kirsch, being Izzy Kirsch, went, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Pull it together. I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
You get the artists. I'll take care of the rest.
So I was too young to go to the concert. You were very much too young to go to the concert. I remember, I think I first read about it in Top 40 magazine when I was maybe 15 years old or something like that, right? But I probably, until I listened to this podcast, didn't actually grasp how important, remember when I did the Tetris movie? And there was that whole thing about how Tetris brought down the Soviet Union. And we were like, did it? Really? This podcast hints at the fact that this concert was instrumental in ending apartheid. I do agree. I do think that it was. I think it was a key element because it was one of the first really large multiracial events that showed that people of all races actually do want to be together and do want to hang out and don't hate each other and want to kill each other.
So that was the big thing, right? Because you'd have white concerts.
Yes.
And you'd have black concerts.
Yes.
And you'd have white artists performing in the townships.
Yes, but like secretly.
Secretly or in grey areas. Johnny Clegg is one of the voices we hear in it. And he talks about how technically you couldn't hold a concert in a public space.
Yeah.
So they'd hold concerts in private spaces. Hence
School
those
halls,
massive university tours that go on.
Exactly.
PJ Powers was also always in the townships doing concerts. And she said that she thought it was going to be a flop because she's like, listen, people from the townships are not going to leave this place where they've been stuck away to come to Ellis Park, which, like, let's give context now, right? Ellis Park now is probably a little bit more multicultural, probably on the wronger side of town, right? It's completely flipped the other way. But if you're talking Ellis Park then, Ellis Park round there was quite vibrant. You had Troyville around there, so a huge Portuguese community at that time, huge immigrant community. But it was the kind of home of South African rugby.
Yeah, which was very white.
Was very white
Completely
and very Afrikaans.
Yes, exactly.
So to go, okay, leave the township, the relative safety and comfort relatively of the township and come into this like kind of cauldron of white supremacy. And she said, no one's going to come.
Well, all the artists thought it was going to be a flop. That's what was so amazing about it. Is that like they were all like,
there's so many different numbers of attendance, but it goes from 60,000 to 100,000 to like 120,000. Because they said at one point they just opened the turnstiles because they just like
people were wanting to come in.
People were just coming.
I think at some point the organizers even maybe like had a bit of a panic, right? And went, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to happen.
Yeah. And they never, I wondered if, because they never got into, because that's a great part of a documentary when you get into like, I like hearing all the shit that went wrong. So I'd like a follow-up, Gavin and Benji.
The Fire Festival side of concert.
Exactly. Like how didn't it almost happen? Because at some point, some, one of F.W. Boert's, one of the guys, is that the right guy? Anyway.
No. P.W. Boert, F.W.
You see, we condemn them.
And Puck. Don't forget Puck.
We condemn them to the darker recesses of my memory. At some point, someone, probably Puck, because he was always involved in things like that. He was like, this is not going to happen. This happens. I'm shutting it down. There has to be something like that.
Like a beer person. Eugene Terreblanche going,
oh my God.
This must not happen. Kind of thing.
Something. There had to be something like, but the lineup?
The lineup?
Yeah, here's just the lineup. So
you went down the rabbit hole.
I did, because I was like, listen, let me tell you about the fantastic thing about the way they do this podcast. It gave me a lot of nostalgia and FOMO for our past selves.
Yes.
And our past show.
Yeah.
Because those of you who've been with us from the beginning, of course, we did a bit of talking shit and a lot more music.
Yeah.
Then, sorry for you, now it's a lot of talking shit.
No music.
But because of the connections of Benji, he got clearances for using so many songs in there.
Yeah.
And so it's interspersed with either tracks or the live track from the
concert, which
the
is
whole
amazing.
Concert is on YouTube.
Yes.
Broken up, right? Because I went to
and
go
I have
look.
watched it in the past on YouTube.
Because I was like, look, I got to post this up. If no one's made, so on Spotify, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, do I put one up on Spotify? But I found on YouTube. I mean, of course, in there, you got Soup Africa, Moralo, Elemental, Umoja, Viva Africa, Brenda Fassie, of course, Harari, Hotline, Steve Kakana, the Working Girls, Face to Face, which is a
Face to Face, like the cheesy boy band.
Oh God, Dori, I'm so I'd heard their songs, but I didn't
No, they were terrible.
Oh God,
they
no,
really
Dori, I got it. Do yourself a favor, Face to Face, Nights of the Long Knives, and I'm going to post up. Maybe I'll even make their album artwork, the image of our Facebook post, because that is the most 80s. Thing I've ever seen.
It is. It looks like one of those posters you would buy at Cardi's.
Oh God, it was fantastic. I'm pretty sure it was All Night Radio, Savuka, of course, which is Johnny Clegg, E-Void. The parts with E-Void, I mean,
amazing.
So good. And they just play like, I mean, they talk about it. I was so struck by it before they said it, with the band, like with the crowd responding to E-Void.
Yeah.
And they still said, can you imagine 100,000 people just shouting, yeah, back at you in unison? Crazy. Petite Chevelle, so many like fantastic South African artists.
And Face to Face.
And Dori, that is very cruel. I'm in love with Face to Face.
Oh, I'm kidding. But I mean, like, you know, I'm not looking back with rose-tinted glasses. I didn't like some of those bands in the 80s. I'm not going to pretend to like them now.
No, fair enough.
I didn't like the Working Girls either.
You know what? I think you kind of like, there's a nostalgia tint.
No, there is a nostalgia.
You hear them and you go, oh, I remember that. And they're South African. I don't know. There's a bit of a
I've
thing.
never been a fan of PJ Powers. We have discussed this. She's a lovely woman, but I've never liked her music.
Fantastic woman. Lovely lady. We've met her a few times. I was happy
the live performances that they played on the podcast were just
so good.
Amazing.
Our friend Neil Johnson, Alex J on there as well. We hear from both of them. Lovely story about
I'll tell you, I cried.
Brenda Fussy hitting on Alex J.
Oh, that was funny. That was so funny.
And Alex J
I'd heard that story
He was
before.
the guy at the time.
I know. I'd actually heard that story probably from Alex before. But it was a good reminder. I cried. I was driving in the car listening and the tears were rolling down my cheeks when they spoke to Johnny Clegg.
Yeah, and you know what? They
left it till the end, and it was long, and it was just let beautiful.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, really good. Predated Live Aid. Same year as Live Aid, but Live Aid was in July and this happened in January. I didn't know that. So listen, a lot of things you won't know. The podcast is 40th anniversary of Concert in the Park. We'll post it up on that 80 Show SA Facebook page. We'll put the link in the show notes as well. You can buy the album as well from, I think, Vinyl Junkie is Benji Moody.
Yes, I think it's his shop in Blegari.
That's his store, so you can get it online. You can. I did see they got one in stock. You can buy the album. Dori, so many recommendations. We only got time for recommendations this week. What are you recommending besides the best podcast, entertainment podcast that doesn't say cunt?
It's not even so much a recommendation. It's something that I discovered through another podcast, which you're going to love this, hey? There's a podcast called Hyperfixed.
Right.
Which is kind of a little bit of a techie... it's one of the guys from Reply All.
Okay.
They used to do... So they've split and now they each do a different show. So I've spoken about Search Engine, which is PJ's show, but this is Alex's show. And he had an episode where he spoke to a woman who actually designs musical instruments, which is fascinating in itself.
Okay.
Then he made a bonus episode where he spoke to her about something related but different. And he released that bonus episode on the mainstream this past weekend. And I was listening to it and I was like, oh my God, I have to tell Paulo about this. I have to talk about this. The conversation starts with her talking about, so this is like a real amazingly creative, geeky girl, right?
Right.
And she talks about how during lockdown, she decided she needed to binge watch something to cheer her up. And she started binge watching Star Wars The Next Generation.
Not Tiger King or The Last Dance like the rest of us did.
No. She started watching not Star Wars, Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah.
Sorry. Apologies. Oh my God. That's the worst mistake you can make.
No, I think they're over it now.
Are they?
No, I think so. It's fine.
So she started watching Star Trek The Next Generation, which started in 1987. Now, I've seen bits of this.
Yeah.
I watched the original Star Trek from the 60s, in the 70s when I was a kid. Loved it. Never really watched that much of any of them since then, but I did see a few Next Generation episodes now and again. And she talks about how, because she designs musical instruments,
right,
there's a lot of musical instruments in Star Trek. And she was fascinated by these as she was watching it. And there was one called the Aldean instrument, or whatever it's called. Let's call it that until I find the actual name. And she looked at this. It was only on screen for a few seconds, but she was like, I want to make this thing. So she endeavored to make a prototype of this thing she had seen on the TV show, which of course was not actually a functional instrument.
Sure.
It was made for the TV show.
Yeah.
And she said, she of course went through all the credits of Star Trek, and most of the stuff there was no credits, but that particular instrument had a credit. She got the guy's name. She went online and discovered that this guy is one of the most famous production designers. Now, forget the Star Trek instrument, because you don't strike me as a Trekkie. I don't think you care. But this guy, his other claim to fame, I'm going to show you an image, and you'll see what I'm talking about. His other claim to fame as a production designer, and this is what he's known for. He's got an Instagram account.
Oh, stop die horlosie. I wish I had a stop die horlosie. No fucking ways.
Yeah. This guy was the production designer of the souped up DeLorean for Back to the Future, because they couldn't use a normal DeLorean. They had to make it look like a time machine.
Right.
This is his sketch. These are his sketches from his Facebook account. I mean, his Instagram.
I love how, it's a crazy thing about the DeLorean, right?
Yeah.
In your mind's eye, picture a DeLorean without the Back to the Future things added to it.
Yeah.
A DeLorean was a weird looking car.
Yeah.
Unless you apply the Back to the Future stuff on it. Right? Because when you see a DeLorean, like just a plain DeLorean, you're like, fuck, it's actually quite a shit looking car.
Yeah.
Add anything on it, you go, holy shit. If this was the actual car, they would have sold 1 billion.
Look at that.
The cockpit, the flux capacitor, that is amazing.
This guy, beautiful drawings.
Beautiful sketches,
Beautiful
yeah.
drawings. We'll put these up on our Facebook page because they are too beautiful not to put up. She got hold of this guy because she wanted to make the instrument.
Yeah.
She said, do you have like anything to help me create this thing? And he was like, well, I'll send you my sketches. Like, that's all I have. I have sketches. We didn't actually make a functioning instrument. She got hold of the sketches. She actually created the thing. There's a link in the podcast to her giving a talk at some techie conference.
Now, I'm looking at this thing.
Plays it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this thing, right? So the one from Star Trek, it's like a frisbee guitar keyboard.
They describe
type
it in the episode as like a rainbow frisbee thing. And that's what it is because it lights up with different colors. And yes, it's round. This woman's like amazing. She's like this crazy genius.
Spoiler alert, it's not become the instrument of the 21st century.
No. I mean, this was a very niche passion project.
Yeah, oh, indeed.
But I mean, like I say, I was listening to it going, this is cool. But then when she started speaking about the DeLorean, then that's when I really got interested. Okay, so his name is Andrew Probert, Probert. His Instagram is Probert_designs. And a lot of the stuff is on there. A lot of the DeLorean stuff. Oh, he also worked on the Enterprise for Star Trek.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a lot of drawings and stuff of that. Actually, such a cool job.
So, Dori, with not so much a recommendation as a just, you know what? It never hurts.
Look what I found out.
To think about the DeLorean.
Yeah. And to know who was behind it now when you watch Back to the Future for the 100th time.
Exactly, as we all should do in the 40th anniversary year. Dori, do I have a movie for you?
I'm so excited.
I don't know if you should be. So, I like finding movies that are like, oh, why did this person do this? So,
is it an adamant?
No, it's not. Oh, those are bad. We're in 1982, and at this point, Clint Eastwood, he's either a major cowboy, or he's Dirty Harry.
Right.
He decides, you know what, I need him. Or he's a director. I mean, by this point, he had started directing, and now we know him, director. And he goes, you know what I haven't done yet? I haven't done a Cold War techno thriller where I am basically a pilot. So imagine War Games meets Top Gun. Because there's a reason we go, wow, Top Gun was the definitive fighter pilot movie of the 80s. It was best because the rest fall into a movie from 1982 called Firefox. Now, it's very difficult finding information on this movie online because it keeps giving you the browser. Very annoying.
I've never heard of this movie.
Oh, as have no people ever. So, how
do you find these things?
I'm amazing. Clint Eastwood is a fighter pilot, retired. He's got PTSD, and he doesn't want to fly anymore. But he gets bought out of retirement because the Russians, the KGB, has this, or I don't know if the KGB are gone by this point. I don't know.
Who knows?
They have built a fighter jet, codenamed Firefox, that is the most dangerous fighter jet, and the American government wants it. And the most dangerous thing about this is that it's voice activated. A voice activated fighter jet. Now, why?
By anyone's voice or a specific voice?
Only in Russian. It's only activated by Russian. Now, it's kind of spyish because now Clint Eastwood has to go undercover into Russia. Now, Clint Eastwood's going to stand out in Russia. But how am I going to disguise myself? By wearing a giant furry hat.
Of course.
But the only time anyone suspects him is that in this movie, he gets stopped at so many border posts because that's the only way they can build tension in this movie.
Right.
Of somebody. I think it's about 6 or 7 times he gets stopped by people to check his papers.
Right.
It's a lot of people checking your papers.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he keeps getting through.
Does he speak Russian?
No, he doesn't speak Russian. This is the problem now. He kind of speaks Russian, but not good Russian. So he gets
With
in the
American
base.
accent, probably.
Like this, speaks like this. Gets the plane, takes off, and now it's a chase. A chase across Siberia into a final dogfight. But now he can only rely on his fighter skills because he can't use any of the weapons in the jet because he can't speak Russian. It only responds in Russian, right? And the inside of the cockpit looks, you're talking about DeLorean, looks exactly like Kit. It's Kit without a steering wheel. That's exactly what the inside of this cockpit looks.
Okay.
So you're now in this final moment where it's like, oh, he's actually the superior pilot because he's not relying on voice activation. You realize the flaw in the stupid jet. Because, Dori, how long does it say to take fire missiles in Russian? I'm sure it's going to be longer than fire missiles, right?
Yeah.
Versus press a button.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Why would you make this stupid technological advance in inverted
And
commas?
listen, we all work with Siri or Alexa or Hey Google. Like, I'm going to fuck with everyone now. Hey Google, play this podcast louder. Would that work? Anyway, we all know it takes a second to process.
Yes.
So guess what? But now I'm dead. This is what I'm watching this movie and I'm going, okay, I get it. And like voice activation is probably a huge thing in 1982. People like, I can imagine a future where this could work, not realizing how annoying it is where it goes like, did you mean, no fucking Siri, I didn't fucking just answer. This is why I fucking use my fingers. Said Bea Arthur, surely it's quicker to press a fire button.
Of course.
Okay. Anyway, he eventually realizes now in this dogfight, the one phrase in Russian that is so critical now. And he says it perfectly, fires the missiles, kills the Russians, gets out with the jet. And that is the movie. Actually,
Wow.
Dori, I'm talking shit. It's not speaking in Russian. It's thinking in Russian.
What?
Which is even more ridiculous. So he's got to think in Russian.
What?
It's
Is it reading his mind?
It reads his mind. It's a thought-activated fucking jet. It's a thought-activated jet, Dori.
I mean, I didn't explain how the Aldean instrument works from Star Trek, but how it works is
God.
it goes off your emotions, not your thoughts. It plays according to what you're feeling.
I see. So
It's
it's very
so
similar.
much of this. Yeah.
It's like, who needs hands when we've got thoughts and emotions? Yes, Dori. Actually, sorry, I fucked that up. It's thought because I was. You know what? You know why? Because my brain blocked out.
Yeah. Because it was so dumb.
Surely it's not thought. Because as I'm going through, no, surely it's not thought. He has to speak. No, in my notes here, it's thought.
But obviously, he thinks out loud on the movie.
Oh, he does. So you know,
Do you hear it with an echo?
Or else it's just Clint Eastwood staring.
Exactly. Well, I mean, he does stare
He
very
does
well.
stare a lot.
But
So
was it with that echoey voice?
it is echoey. So you're in his mind now. So needless to say, the movie did not do well.
Is it on YouTube?
It is on YouTube. There's also one with director's commentary and Clint Eastwood's commentary on it as well, that if you do want to watch.
It doesn't sound like something I want to watch, but
No.
maybe just that part where he thinks it.
I'm going to post that up on that 80 Show SA Facebook. That's the only clip
Find
I'm
that
going to
clip.
give you. I've
Yeah.
got it.
Oh, you got
It's
it.
so stupid. But anyway, there was a time
Was this
when...
really worse than better than an Adam Ant movie?
Yeah,
Really?
no, it was. Because...
Wow.
No, it was. Thought activated?
Also, Clint Eastwood was probably still quite good looking then.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's
he
good
was.
looking
He was
guy.
like, he
Yeah.
was. Listen, he's not a pilot though.
No.
He's a cop. I get him as a cowboy. I get him as so many things. Not a pilot.
yeah.
He's not. He's too big.
Too
'Cause-
lanky.
Yeah, because I think pilots don't have to be quite squat. I think.
Mm.
I'd imagine he's too lanky. Anyway, so that is my movie Firefox. If I had to give my thoughts on that movie, there, I just gave my thoughts on that movie. So this has been that 80 show. I want to run through some 80s things in 80 seconds. Dori,
Yeah.
Rob Lowe reveals the real reason he can't stop posting shirtless selfies.
Ooh.
Rob Lowe has
he
been.
can?
That's exactly what he says. Fans have been asking Rob Lowe, why are you posting so many shirtless selfies? And he says, well, I've got it. I'm gonna flaunt it.
Absolutely.
And he does. Dori, we running through this in 80 seconds. I will give you these photos for your enjoyment.
Thank you.
She's made up with Elton John. So she made up with the Queen. And now Madonna is going to make up with the Pope. Did you know that she's related? They're doing this thing
Oh my
where
God.
everybody is related because he's American. They're tracing heritage to the new Pope, and Madonna is related to him by something like 9th cousins.
Amazing.
Yeah. So now, and Madonna wasn't a big fan of the church wasn't a big fan of Madonna. Madonna was a huge fan of crucifixes. But yes, she's apparently related to the new Pope, which is great. And Weird Al Yankovic, we spoke about parodies last week. Weird Al Yankovic, the one artist he never parodied was Prince, because Prince hated him and said, "You will never parody one of my songs. I'll never give you permission." And Weird Al Yankovic was, "I need permission."
No, I think we've spoken about this before. But also, I'd be scared. I'd be scared to parody Prince, honestly.
So Prince hated him so much that, remember Prince did a whole bunch of songs for the first Batman movie?
Yeah.
In one of the videos, I think called The Party Man.
Yeah.
It's Party Man.
I know Party Man. I know it well.
He blows up a man who looks like Weird Al Yankovic.
He does. You're right. Oh my God.
So we'll put that clip, that 80 Show essay on Facebook. Thanks for joining me, Dori. Goodbye.
Bye.